Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. NBA. Fusion of Qingfeng template, crowned Wolf King. In 2007, when the trees crossed back to the parallel world, they became a bargaining chip for the Celtics to trade Wolf King, Kevin Garnett. Awakening the invincible front system and rewarding the fusion of Qingfeng Dahui templates. Extremely fast and ultra-fast dribbling. An indefinite shot that can be shot from any situation and angle. And the fields that only the selected can enter. Zone. During the team's training match, Jefferson was defeated, establishing his position as the Wolf King and leading the team back to the playoffs in his first year afterwards. The alliance fell into the terrifying domination of the trees. Dayao. I have become a past tense, and the forest is the first person in our dynasty. Kobe. Where is the Timberwolf King? It's like the demon wolf in Norse mythology. Finriel. Pierce. Wood played me. When I was by my side, I only knew how to shoot an air ball. After leaving the Celtics, I could shoot accurately without even touching the frame. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Title of Chapter 1 Exchange Supplement. The new Wolf King is here. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm very sorry, Lynn. The team has sent you, along with Ryan Gomez, Al Jefferson, Gerard Green, Theo Ratliff, Sebastian Telfield, and the 2009 first-round draft picks, to the Timberwolves in order to secure Kevin Garnett, who is the hottest pick in the league. We sincerely wish you the opportunity to showcase your power in the Timberwolves. The tree lying in bed fell into a daze as it listened to the sound on the other end of the phone. Kevin Garnett. What transaction? Didn't I watch the cavalry battle at home? Lynn looked at the time on his phone. At 4:30 a.m. on August 1, 2007. In a moment, he realized something serious. He has traveled. He traveled back to parallel time and space in 2007 from 2018. The reason why it is said to be parallel time and space is because a jumble of information comes to mind in the forest. The owner of this body is also called a tree. As a Chinese, he has a height of 2.06 meters and an arm span of 2.18 meters. After Dayao joined the Houston Rockets, the Rockets' market value rapidly increased, with an annual revenue of $149 million. You should know that Rockets owner Alexander only paid $83 million when he acquired the Rockets in 1993, and at this time, the team's market value was as high as $462 million, which is 5 times more than when their owner acquired them. So the shrewd Celtics boss found this wandering Chinese player in the draft during last year's offseason. And like a scapegoat, he disregarded public opinion and invested a lot of money, directly signing a 2-year and 4 million yuan protection contract with Forest, hoping to use Forest's hand to share the market with the Rockets in China. But the effect is not very good. This tree made 14 appearances as a substitute small forward in the 2006.07 season, averaging 3 minutes per game and achieving an excellent performance of 1 airball per game. It is precisely because of Lynn's poor performance on the field that the Celtics management is greatly troubled. The media reporters even jokingly called the trees the essence of human balloon. This contract has also been rated by the media as the worst contract of the year, using the identity of a member of the Forest dynasty to gain popularity. It is parallel spacetime, and there is another major reason. The trade between the Celtics and the Timberwolves was not about the Forest man, but a little cash. Perhaps in the eyes of these two teams, the value of trees is equivalent to this amount of cash. Thinking of this, the trees couldn't help feeling a bit depressed. I didn't expect that my magnificent 7-foot man's travel script would be so bleak. At this point, a mechanical sound echoed in the mind of the trees. Ding, host awakens, invincible frontline system serves you, examining host's body, generate panel. The next second, the panel appeared in front of the trees. Host. Trees, height. 2.06 meters arm span. 2.18 meters, weight. 89 kilograms, speed. 76, power. 7, physical strength. 80, bounce. 80, skill. None, comprehensive evaluation. 76, system activation to obtain a beginner gift package. Open or not open. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Qingfeng Dahui template, in Template Fusion. Sleeping slot. Qingfeng shines brightly. After hearing the system's prompt sound, the trees were overjoyed. Qingfeng Dahui, the strongest ace in the miraculous era of basketball in the anime game Heisei, plays as a power forward and is a reliable scoring machine. After a while, the system prompt sounded again. Ding Fusion completed. Focus on the panel and see the changes brought by the Fusion template. Host. Trees, height. 211 centimeters arm span. 230 centimeters, weight. 102 kilograms, speed. 99, power. 95, physical strength. 95, bounce. 95, natural skills. Zone, ultra-high-speed dribbling, unset shooting, irregular ball style, comprehensive evaluation. 96, too fierce. This panel is like a completely different person. Lin looked at the system while sighing. Unrestricted playing style. The gameplay is free and unrestrained, completely relying on the body to play, similar to streetball style. Unset shooting. Able to take a shot from any angle and position in any situation, even when facing a person in the air, with the back to the basket, or with multiple players sandwiched, as long as there is a theoretical scoring route, it is possible to shoot and score. Ultra-high-speed dribbling. Possessing an extremely abnormal ball sensation, able to dribble quickly and change the attacking rhythm. The integration of Qingfeng Dahui template has brought not only changes in skills and four-dimensional attributes to the forest, but also a qualitative improvement in ball quotient and static talent. At this moment, the Celtics press conference is being broadcast live on television. For Kevin Garnett's arrival, we will bring the trees, Al Jefferson. The forest sighed in its heart. Was it officially announced so soon? There is no room for retention at all. Since that's the case, I will make you regret it. Once upon a time, you loved to ignore me, but in the future, I will not be able to climb high. Timberwolves, your new Wolf King, is coming. Chapter 2. I will become the new generation Wolf King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shortly after the Celtics press conference, Wood received a text message from the Timberwolves management team. Dear Wood, hello. We will hold a simple team training match tonight, August 1st at 3 p.m. at the Target Center Arena. We hope you will be present. The results of this training match will determine your decision to stay or leave. By Kevin McHale, the opportunity has come. At the moment of seeing the text message, Lin's eyes lit up. But at the moment of seeing time, the tree couldn't help but frown. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It takes about 3 hours to fly from Boston to Minnesota. This means that, taking into account some fragmented time consumption, there is almost no time for the trees to rest and adjust before the team's training match begins. But there is no way, perhaps this is the current situation of some character players. Lin shook his head secretly, but his heart was very determined. Anyway, he must be present because it is the only way for him to stay. Moreover, with the assistance of the system now, he is also very confident in staying in the team and becoming the next core. As a time traveler who enjoys basketball, I have a lot of knowledge about Timberwolves and trees. The Minnesota Timberwolves, as a newcomer to the NBA league that only joined in 1989, have poor records that do not match the name of the newcomers. For 7 consecutive years, he has won less than 30 regular season games, let alone competing for a playoff spot. Until 1995, Kevin Garnett was selected in the 5th overall pick of the first round, marking a historic breakthrough. The team made 8 appearances in the playoffs between 1996 and 2004. In the 2003.04 season, the Timberwolves, who had the trio of Madman, Latrell Sprewell, Wolf King, Kevin Garnett, and Dalian, Sam Cassell, won the first place in the Western Conference in the regular season and even touched the floor of the Western Conference Finals in the playoffs. But unfortunately, it fell to the hands of the Los Angeles Lakers, who had that F4. At other times, they mostly stopped in the first round of the playoffs. Since then, various reasons have led to the team's decline, and Kevin Garnett, who played alone, has never led the team into the playoffs. This may also be one of the reasons why Timberwolves general manager Kevin McHale and the Celtics reached this deal. After the Timberwolves traded Kevin Garnett, they began a long process of reconstruction. Throughout the history of the Timberwolves, the senior management seems to be very interested in tall players. Among the 3 reconstructions known to the Forest, the first one, Kevin Garnett, the second one, Kevin Carfor, and the third one, Karl Anthony Towns, were tall men who could play as power forward/centers. And now the Forest has a height of 2.11 meters and an arm span of 2.30 meters, which can be said to be an unprecedented abnormal talent. Kevin Garnett's height and arm span are only 2.11 meters and 2.26 meters respectively. Lin stood in front of the full-body mirror, watching his changes, his mouth curled up, and he became confident. I can just make up for the vacancy after Kevin Garnett leaves. At 8:30 a.m. on that day, Lin boarded a flight to Minnesota. On the plane, Lin met Gerard Green, who was also a trading chip. This is the champion of the 2007 All-Star Weekend Dunk Contest. However, his performance in the regular season was average, averaging 10.4 points and 2.6 rebounds per game in the 2006.07 season. Perhaps due to different locations, Gerard Green took the initiative to greet the trees. "Hey, Lin. Long time no see. You too, just received the news this morning. There's a training match in the afternoon. By the way, have you grown taller? You look taller than that guy Al Jefferson. I heard that Al Jefferson had already arrived at Minnesota Timberwolves last night." Gerald Green, like a curious baby, kept asking around the trees. The trees looked high and cold, and only briefly answered a few questions without giving a careful answer. However, in Gerald Green's words, the trees were almost certain that the Timberwolves had left Al Jefferson behind. In the 2006.07 season, Al Jefferson experienced an explosive performance, achieving a double-10 record and also making him one of the top power forwards in the league, becoming the core support for the team. If he wants to stay in the team and become the core, he needs to defeat this Al Jefferson. Al Jefferson. Humph. I will stay and become the new generation of Wolf King. As soon as he thought of this, the tree became somewhat excited and murmured. After all, after integrating the template of Qingfeng Dahui, he has not officially played a game yet. Does this guy have a brain that's not functioning properly? Gerald Green, who was standing beside him, overheard the whispers of the trees and couldn't help but be taken aback. Then I saw the confident smile on Lin's face, and I was somewhat infected. Because they are still very young, who doesn't have a dream yet? They are all dream chasers. Chapter 3. Terrifying Physical Fitness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Accelerate. Run. Don't be like walking. Inside the Minnesota Timberwolves home Target Center Stadium, head coach Randy Whitman is training all the players who have already arrived. On the field, a large black figure shuttles freely among the crowd, neatly avoiding defensive players. Shoo! The point guard holding the ball at the top of the arc saw the situation and passed the ball directly over. Immediately after receiving the ball, the big black one kicked his hind legs and flew towards the basket. Duong! A explosive double clasp. My talent is decent, but my skills are decent. Fortunately, Young, with him as the core of the team in the new season, there should be a good chemistry reaction. In time, one will surely grow into an all-star level player. In less than 2 years, the team will be able to return to the playoffs again. It seems that exchanging for Al Jefferson would be a good decision. Coach Randy Whitman, who was observing from the sidelines, nodded in satisfaction when he saw this scene. Just as head coach Randy Whitman was lost in endless imagination, Wood and Gerard Green hurriedly arrived. With the arrival of the trees, Al Jefferson, as an old teammate, did not give a good face. When he was with the Celtics, Al Jefferson was dissatisfied with the trees several times. Due to the decision of the team's senior management, Al Jefferson believed that Forrest had snatched his playing time, otherwise his growth would have been faster. Gerald Green, go warm up. Are you a tree? At this moment, head coach Randy Whitman also regained his senses and looked at the two people standing in front of him with confident faces. Yes. Head coach. For this training competition, Lin is full of confidence. Height 2.06 meters, arm span 2.18 meters. How do you feel that this is much better than what was reported in the report? Did the Celtics conceal anything from him? Coach Randy Whitman's gaze was fixed on the trees, with some confusion in his heart, and he spoke up. Well, let's go do a physical test first. Your height and arm span seem to be slightly different from the report, which is not conducive to our positioning and judgment of you. Lin didn't say much, just nodded and silently followed Coach Randy Whitman. The first item is height and arm span. What? Height 2.11 meters, arm span 2.30 meters. Is the height 2.15 meters when wearing shoes? The height of Garnett, who was sent away, has an arm span of only 2.24 meters. Trees are longer than Garnett's arm span. Coach Randy Whitman was watching the physical data of the trees from the side, somewhat surprised. Lin saw the expression on head coach Randy Whitman's face, and a smile curled up at the corner of his mouth. Don't underestimate the 6 centimeters gap. The longer the arm span, the greater the defensive pressure it puts on other players. The second item is horizontal push. WTF. After seeing the data on the trees, the head coach couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Weighing 102 kilograms, can you push 102 kilograms 25 times? What is the maximum weight of a horizontal push of 200 kilograms? You should know that LeBron James, the Little Emperor, has only pushed 102 kilograms in a row 22 times. There are 3 more trees than him. The maximum weight of the bench press is even more outrageous, already on par with superstars such as basketball god Jordan and Big Ben Wallace. Attracted by Coach Randy Whitman's exclamation, other players who had entered the warm-up gathered around. The third item is to touch high. Oh my God, standing and touching at a height of 2.81 meters, the maximum touching height is actually 3.91 meters. That means the jumping height of the trees is as high as 1.10 meters. Monster. Is this still a yellow person? He's just a black person wearing yellow skin. That's right, during this talent draft, wasn't he a proper top pick? Was he being chased by various teams? How could he have been traded by the Celtics to the Timberwolves? The players watching the excitement from the side couldn't help but marvel at the data of the trees. The maximum touch height is 3.91 meters, which was the highest touch height that Jordan, the basketball god, had during his rookie years. Even Dwight Howard, the magical beast in Orlando, has a maximum touch height of only 3.81 meters. The fourth item is the 100-meter speed. A 100-meter speed, 10.4 seconds. Height 2.11 meters, arm span 2.30 meters. The maximum weight for a bench press is 200 kilograms, with a standing touch height of 2.81 meters and a maximum touch height of 3.91 meters. Having a height close to the center forward, the speed of the defender, impressive strength, and almost surpassing the bouncing of the center forward in the entire league. This is definitely an upgraded version of Kevin Garnett. Why did the Celtics join the trading chips? Coach Randy Whitman's mind is now filled with confusion, surprise, and doubt. Surprisingly, trees are a rare gem. The question is, why was the forest, such a naturally gifted existence, abandoned by the Celtics due to Kevin Garnett, and still used as an addition? Is it a technical issue? Anyway, let's have a full match first and give it a try. Chapter 4, Become the Stepping Stone for My Coronation as the Wolf King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You guys go warm up first, we're preparing for a 5.on.5 training match. Warm up while listening to our team. The red team, led by Al Jefferson, focuses on power forward. The blue team, led by Richard McCarts, is a shooting guard. Coach Randy Whitman didn't even watch the warmed-up crowd on the field, holding a list and constantly distributing personnel. Al Jefferson doesn't need to say much. Richard McCarts is a talented North Carolina defender who, with North Carolina winning the 2005 NCAA championship, was one of the 4 young North Carolina. He was selected by the Timberwolves in the 2005 draft and has since maintained a high level of athletic performance on the offensive end. In the data from the past season, both players have the potential to take on the team's responsibilities. The data on the field is not deceptive, even if Timber has such abnormal static talent. Head coach Randy Whitman dare not rashly elevate Timber to the position of captain. When the tree was called out by name, head coach Randy Whitman frowned heavily and immediately sentenced him to the blue team. However, this is also exactly what Wood meant. In his view, among all the players present, only Al Jefferson has a chance to become a stumbling block for him to become the team's leading star. The other players have no deterrent power at all. Coach Randy Whitman's arrangement happened to push Wood and Al Jefferson against each other, allowing for a clear comparison of their abilities. Interestingly, Gerald Green, who was on the same plane as Tree, also teamed up with Tree again. In no time, the list was assigned. Red Team: Al Jefferson, Theo Ratliff, Randy Foyer, Marco Yarrick, and Corey Bluer. Blue Team: Rashad McCarts, Timber, Gerard Green, Sebastian Telfield, Ryan Gomez. No coach knows about this training match, we can only rely on your cooperation with the 5 people inside. This item is to test your adaptability and whether it can better accommodate different teammates. The game adopts a 21-point system, and the team that reaches 21 points first will win. Exactly, if it's more intense, it's just one competition time, so you should seize the opportunity and showcase yourself as much as possible. After arranging the team, head coach Randy Whitman briefly explained the rules for this training match. Wood, you'll go play center later. As the captain, especially the senior, Rashad McCarts began to assign tasks to only arrange. The tree showed full respect and did not interrupt him, but only spoke after Rashad McCart's distribution was over. Captain, I request to exchange positions with Ryan Gomez. I want to play as a power forward and I have confidence in defeating Al Jefferson. Seeing the newcomer dissatisfied with his arrangements, Rashad McCarts felt a bit unhappy and said, "What do you call a yellow person? Just follow the arrangements. If it weren't for watching your static talent explode, I would have requested the head coach to replace me. Do you still want to blow up Al Jefferson? I may not even be able to blow him up. What are you doing with that? Your tears. Say I'll be beaten up and cry. Rashad McCarts. I remember you. Let's wait and see." Lin clenched his fists tightly, but they had no impulse. Many teams in the league have such a locker room culture. Older players can treat rookies like younger brothers, and it's obvious that Rashad McCarts is just like that. Just as the tree was about to refute, Ryan Gomez stood up and became a mediator, saying, "Rashad McCarts, since Timber wants to play in the position of power forward, why not switch with him?" Ryan Gomez, also a player from the 2005 draft, was not afraid of Rashad McCarts. When Rashad McCarts announced his position, knowing that he was going to face Al Jefferson, his confidence on the face became a bit overwhelming. They all come from the Celtics, and he knows Al Jefferson's strength. He's not a match at all. Compared to Al Jefferson, he is more willing to serve as a center forward that he is not very familiar with, facing Theo Ratliff. If we give up our position to the trees, we can avoid being in opposition to Al Jefferson, which is also a beautiful thing to achieve. At this moment, Gerald Green also agreed on the side. Sebastian Telfel remained silent on the side, without any intention of standing in line. At this moment, as Rashad McCarts, his face became even more ugly, but after all, there were many people who supported the trees, so he had no choice but to agree, with a hint of threatening charm, and said, "All right, Wood, you play as a power forward against Al Jefferson. Remember, if you can't stop him, don't blame me for being impolite." Lin Lin nodded and responded briefly. "You don't have a chance." After speaking, he turned his head to look at Al Jefferson, who was discussing not far away, with a slight curl in his mouth. "Al Jefferson, you will eventually become a stepping stone for my ascension and coronation." Chapter 5. Snatching a Fast Attack Dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright. Time's up, let's go on stage. Under the command of Coach Randy Whitman, players from both sides made their debut. Red Team. Point Guard, PG, Randy Foy, Shooting Guard, SG, Marco Yarrick, Small Forward, SF, Kokri Blur, Power Forward, PF, Al Jefferson, Center, C, Theo Ratliff. Blue Team. Point Guard, PG, Sebastian Telfield, Shooting Guard, SG, Rashad McCarts, Small Forward, SF, Gerard Green, Power Forward, PF, Wood, Center, C, Ryan Gomez. Both sides jumped the ball in the middle circle. Theo Ratliff and Ryan Gomez stood near the midline, ready to take action. The trees and Al Jefferson stood in a standoff near the midline. Hee. Juanpi kid, why are you standing here? Shouldn't you play center jump with your height? Can't you? You're not trying to challenge me, are you? Actually, I have great confidence in you. If you fully assist me this season, I can lead the team to compete in the playoffs. Al Jefferson stood beside the trees and said, his tone somewhat arrogant. To assist you. You should assist me. Lin Lin shook his head and confidently responded, saying, Jefferson, I hope you can say such things to me after this training match. Suddenly, Al Jefferson's anger surged and he said angrily. Oh. What do you mean, you want to be the boss? Humph. Let's recognize reality. How much weight do you weigh? Do you still want to grab my boss's position? You can beat your captain, Rashad McCants. Mr. Essence of Human Balloon. Lin Lin sneered and replied. Stop talking nonsense. See the truth on the court. For a moment, there was a strong smell of gunpowder. Oh. Forrest plays power forward. Ryan Gomez plays as a center forward. Rashad McCart's arrangement. Or do the trees have other ideas? Coach Randy Whitman watched with interest as the lineup stood on the field, holding a basketball and walking to the center of the field, preparing to jump ball. The basketball was thrown high from head coach Randy Whitman's hand and flew vertically into the sky. Boom! Theo Ratliff and Ryan Gomez, who were both in the center position, jumped up at the same time, doing their best to straighten their arms and dive towards the basketball in the air. Pop! Ryan Gomez was not a center forward and lost to Theo Ratliff on the jump ball. The basketball was caught by Theo Ratliff's big hand in the hands of his own point guard Randy Foy. After receiving the ball, the latter quickly breaks through and wants to catch them off guard. Coincidentally, Randy Fry was advancing in the direction of the trees. When the trees saw the situation, they intercepted Randy Fry directly in front of him, preventing this attack. At this point, Al Jefferson had already slipped into the inner line, and both sides formed a misplaced defense. Al Jefferson leaned against Gerald Green, reached for the ball, wanting to make a big and small misalignment attack. However, Randy Fry was eager to show himself and did not immediately choose to pass the ball to Al Jefferson, but instead chose to dribble the ball himself. Bang bang. Basketball shuttles between Randy Flyer's crotch, back, and front. Randy Foyer constantly uses the changes in rhythm to explore the defensive focus of the trees. The center of gravity of the trees sank, spreading their arms to guard against Randy Foyer's death. Randy Foyer made several consecutive attempts to break through Allen, all of which ended in failure. The defense of the trees puts a lot of pressure on Randy Fry. At this moment, head coach Randy Whitman on the sidelines is writing down the strengths and weaknesses of the newcomers with great enthusiasm. Forrest. Fast footsteps. Strong defensive ability, able to achieve big and small defenses. Insufficient defensive motivation. Insufficient deterrence, unable to give pressure to the ball handler. Lack of coordination among teammates. Randy Foyer. Eager for quick success and instant benefits, eager to prove oneself, easy to get ahead of. Before the head coach Randy Whitman could finish writing, the situation on the field began to change. Pop. Quick, accurate, and ruthless. The tree aimed at Randy Fry's dribbling habit and extended its long arm to anticipate Randy Fry's dribbling, shooting it from the air. The direction in which the basketball flies is exactly the position where our point guard Sebastian Telfel stood after changing defense. The forest tree didn't turn its head back, but directly pulled out with all its might and ran rapidly towards the front field. While running, he loudly said, "Seba, fast break." At the moment Sebastian Telfel saw the basketball fly in, he didn't think much about it. Instead, he directly held it in his arms to prevent him from losing the ball in a fight with Corey Bluer. At the moment of hearing the sound of the trees, I found a gap and threw the ball directly out. As the trees ran, they turned around to look at the flying basketball. After receiving the ball, he strode a few steps and took off under the basket, easily dunking the basketball into the basket with one hand. Upon seeing this scene, head coach Randy Whitman immediately used a pen to scratch away the flaws in the trees and couldn't help but nod with a smile. This forest doesn't seem to be as bad as when the Celtics were. Perhaps it can be of great use. Chapter 6. Teaching Bureau. Eat Hot Pot. Algia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The score is 2.0. Bang 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 bang. After the basketball entered the net, no one paid attention, and the sound of hitting the floor appeared particularly loud in the quiet arena, gradually becoming urgent before stopping. After the trees landed, there was no rush to defend, but instead stood under the basket and turned to look at the player who seemed to be stationary in the other half. With a smile on his face, waving his right hand. There is a hint of reunion after a long separation. After 3 days of separation, we should look forward to each other. However, all of this was particularly glaring in Al Jefferson's eyes, as if bidding farewell to himself. Waving and waving, although their movements are the same, their meanings can be said to be vastly different. Al Jefferson felt a strong provocation from the actions of the trees, and his face darkened. Transfer of ball rights, red team serves baseline ball. Randy Foy had a dark face and dribbled through the half, organizing the team's attack from the top of the arc 3-point line. Juanpi Kid, you're a bit arrogant. Do you dare to provoke me? Today I'll let you know, why can I get a big contract while you can only substitute at the base salary? Al Jefferson reached out for the ball against the trees while spraying trash. The tree refused to be outdone and propped its arms against Al Jefferson, responding disdainfully with its mouth. You can score a goal first before we talk. I've been forcing people to rely on me, I'm quite annoyed. After hearing this, Al Jefferson's anger surged and his entire black face turned red. Just as he was about to retaliate, the outfielder Randy Fryer brought the ball up high. After receiving the ball, Al Jefferson didn't rush to dribble, but instead held it in his arms and continued to spray trash. Then let me teach you how to play ball. After speaking, Al Jefferson exploded the ball and fiercely attacked the trees. Under the carelessness of the trees, they were pushed back 2 steps by the top, but soon they were stuck up again. After Al Jefferson pushed open the trees, he collected the ball and turned his face frame. His lower limbs sank and burst with energy, jumping up with both hands holding the ball behind his head, as if he was about to smash it with both hands. Is this why the Celtics traded trees? Defensive style tends to be soft, with strength but neglecting confrontation. Even Al Jefferson, who has weaker static talents than Lin Mu, can ride on the top of the trees and defecate, not to mention other top-level insiders in the league. Coach Randy Whitman on the sidelines couldn't help but shake his head and sigh slightly when he saw this scene. On the field. Upon seeing Al Jefferson leap up, the forest tree stabilized its figure without too much energy and stood up straight from the ground, extending its long arm and covering it in front of the basketball that Al Jefferson had dunked. Bang! Duong! The basketball flew backwards under the beating force of the trees and landed in Gerald Green's hand. Although the basketball was blocked, Al Jefferson's dunk continued, hitting the basket with both hands. Unfortunately, the protagonist has disappeared. On the sidelines. Blocking. Surprisingly, after losing position, he came forward again to defend and intercept the basketball. This forest seems to be good too. There are constant surprises. Coach Randy Whitman saw the performance of the trees and immediately forgot his evaluation. On the field. Isn't it being pushed open? How could this be? He wasn't like this when he was with the Celtics. Al Jefferson looked at the trees in front of him with some surprise. The tree caught Al Jefferson's gaze and looked back, giving him a smile. Then, quietly speaking. This ball doesn't seem very suitable for teaching. After speaking, the trees ran away, leaving only Al Jefferson gritting his teeth and standing in place. After Gerald Green received the ball, he stabilized and could only pass it to point guard Sebastian Telfel after the opposing player came back to defend. At this point, the trees are deeply planted, and the confrontation with Al Jefferson is very intense. Al Jefferson, why don't I teach you how to score that ball just now? As he spoke, the tree reached out for the ball at a deep position. Sebastian Telfel from the outside looked at the long arms of the trees and high-pitched the ball into the inside. After the forest catches the ball, it is as stable as Mount Tai, without dribbling, and constantly shakes its shoulder to test. How could it be? Can't I actually push him? Al Jefferson pushed hard behind the trees, trying to shake their steps, but the latter remained motionless. The next moment. When Al Jefferson exerted his strength again, the tree suddenly exploded and turned around, causing Al Jefferson to pounce and fall into the air, causing him to eat shit. After turning around, the tree did not look at Al Jefferson, but instead burst up like a green onion on the dry land, dunking the basketball into the basket with both hands. Duong. Double-handed critical hit. Al, what's wrong with you? You're too tired. The tree hanging on the basket saw Al Jefferson lying on the ground and asked jokingly and curiously. Just warming up, there was no activity just now. Don't be complacent, I'll give you 2 points. Yellow-skinned kid. Al Jefferson did push-ups on the ground to cover up his embarrassment. The scene between the trees and Al Jefferson was seen by Rashad McCarts, who had fallen from the bottom corner. Rashad McCarts let out a strange and mischievous smile, his eyes rolling, and his heart calculating something. Chapter 7 Trees. To deal with you, no need to use your brain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The score is 4.0. Well done. Lin. I didn't expect your changes to be so significant. When it comes to the Celtics, it's completely different. Gerald Green saw the trees clasping their hands in excitement and ran to their side, excitedly patting their chest and praising them. Immediately after, the two of them withdrew from defense, chatting and laughing. Transfer of ball rights, red team ball rights. Randy Foyer glanced at Al Jefferson as he ran away, his anger not only not written on his big face, but also fully displayed. After receiving the baseline ball, he quickly advanced and passed it directly to Al Jefferson just as he entered the three-point line. Randy Foyer believes that Al Jefferson's ability in the low positions is not as outstanding as that of the trees, and he can regain face in mid-range positions. Al Jefferson also understood the meaning of Randy Foyer's pass. After receiving the ball, he didn't dribble, but instead looked at the tree from the free throw line and hooked it provocatively, angrily saying, "Yellow-skinned kid, don't think you can be proud just by guarding me once. That's what Grandpa told you. Come on, come back. See if I don't blow you up. I don't know if the sky is high and the earth is thick." Lin shook his head and walked out from the inside line, standing in front of Al Jefferson. Humph. Al Jefferson let out a cold snort, dribbled from his back, and leaned against the trees to get closer to the basket. After the trees pushed Al Jefferson 2 steps forward, he suddenly exerted force to stop his progress. At the same time, he extended his long arm towards Al Jefferson's scout. And Al Jefferson was a bit disorganized by the sudden arrival of the trees, hastily protecting the ball in his arms to prevent the trees from digging it out. On the sidelines, head coach Randy Whitman couldn't help but nod and sigh as he watched the trees defend this time. Not bad. Compared to the previous defense, there has been much progress. Learn to leverage your strengths. Al Jefferson, how should you face the trees' defense this time? On the court, after receiving the ball, Al Jefferson shook his shoulders to create the illusion of turning around, and then, with the real thing sandwiched in the virtual shake, he suddenly turned around with his right foot as the axis towards the right side. Lin Mu straightened his long arms and propped up an interception net to prevent Al Jefferson's sudden attack on the shot. Corey Blure slid to the bottom line on the same side, doing his job of running empty spaces. It is one thing whether one can run in an empty space, and another thing whether a teammate can pass the ball. The former is an attitude issue, and in the eyes of the head coach, such a presence is not allowed. At this point, the opportunity has come. Rashad McCarts gave a sinister smile and deliberately ran past the trees. Al Jefferson swept over in his spare time and quickly turned back to the other side without making too much movement, jumping up. And Rashad McCarts was like a pick and roll for Al Jefferson, blocking the possibility of the trees defending forward. The basketball slipped from Al Jefferson's hand and headed towards the basket. Brush. Basketball precise entry into the net. The score is 4.2. After watching the basketball enter the net, Al Jefferson turned his head and looked at the trees with a thud, his mouth still mocking. Yellow-skinned kid. Did you see it? Playing ball requires thinking. The tree didn't take it seriously, smiled and nodded at Al Jefferson, then turned to look at Rashad McCarts running by. Intentionally or unintentionally. Rashad McCarts' action just now was not very obvious, just like when he was taking the closest route to defend the players and sticking to the trees. On the sidelines. Poor team collaboration, excessive involvement, and failure to pay attention to changes in team members' positions. There is still a lot of room for improvement in the trees. Coach Randy Whitman, who witnessed this process, did not notice anything unusual and also believed that Rashad McCarts was in such a hurry to defend. Transfer of ball rights, blue team ball rights. After receiving the ball, Sebastian Terfel saw that Rashad McCarts wanted the ball and passed it directly to him. After receiving the ball, Rashad McCarts stood up straight from the three-point line and threw a three-pointer towards Corey Blure. Faced with a rookie like Corey Blure who only entered the league this year, Rashad McCarts still has some confidence in his three-point shot. Unexpectedly, he wouldn't be able to be snatched away by the trees. The basketball was released and curved in the air, followed by a thud that hit the basket. When Rashad McCarts saw basketball playing iron, his entire expression stiffened. Backboard. Forrest, Al Jefferson, Theo Ratliff, and Ryan Gomez on the inside were shocked and competed for a spot to grab the best rebounding spot. Boom. The trees pushed aside Al Jefferson, leaping out of the crowd and even grabbing the rebound with their long arms. Then, after the trees landed, they bounced twice, holding the basketball high with both hands and dunking it towards the basket. Duong. Double-handed buckle. The score is 6.2. The tree was hanging from the basket, watching Al Jefferson calmly say, "It doesn't seem necessary to deal with you, use your brain." Chapter 8. Trees, it's good for a team leader. You are listening at novelfull.audio. F***K. Let this kid pretend again. Why did I throw that ball away? Rashad McCarts looked at the trees hanging on the basket, gritted his teeth and cursed inwardly. At the same time, Al Jefferson under the basket also froze in place, his gaze fixed on the trees, his eyes complex and unclear in meaning. There is shock, dissatisfaction, excitement, and more importantly, anger. Surprisingly, a newcomer challenged his position during a training competition. All of this was seen by the head coach Randy Whitman on the sidelines, but he didn't care at all and looked at the trees with enthusiasm. Now Kevin Garnett has been traded away, and the team is in dire need of a team leader. He doesn't have to take care of the changing room atmosphere until the team leader is confirmed. The original plan was to build a lineup around Al Jefferson, but during the first few back and forth attacks and defenses, head coach Randy Whitman seemed to have discovered a new treasure in the new continent. And Al Jefferson, who just made his mark last season, is a touchstone. As long as you can beat Al Jefferson above the opposition, it means that your strength can fully rank among the top power forwards in the league. If Forrest can stand out in this training match, it is enough to prove that Forrest has some potential to become a team leader, at least in terms of strength. Transfer of ball rights, red team ball rights. Randy Foy quickly advanced through the half after receiving the ball, observing the situation on the field from the top of the arc and organizing the team's attack. At this moment, Al Jefferson was not in a hurry to demand the ball and retrieve the field. But it's about switching to a different form of attack, allowing Randy Foyer to organize the attack. After several passes, the basketball finally reached the hands of Al Jefferson. What's going on? Al Jefferson, where did you go just now? It's unavoidable, you're your team's hope. The Forest defended behind Al Jefferson and said. After receiving the ball, Al Jefferson was initially speechless, but upon hearing the words of the trees, his anger reignited and he roared. Yellow-skinned kid. Don't be too arrogant. After speaking, Al Jefferson exploded the ball and jumped down to the basket, subconsciously making a fake hook move in an attempt to deceive the trees. Then, he spun like a top to create space for his hand and hooked the basket. Pop. Lin's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. At the moment when Al Jefferson raised his hand, he extended his big hand to cover the basketball. Before the basketball could be played, it was blocked by the trees. After Ryan Gomez picked up the basketball on the side, he immediately passed it back to the trees. The latter, after receiving the ball, protected the basketball and did not pass it to Sebastian Terfel on the side, let alone Rashad McCarts who always wanted the ball. After Al Jefferson and others withdrew from defense, the trees took a step to dribble the ball past half-court. Juanpi Kid, when will it be your turn to control the ball? I haven't even controlled the ball yet. You need to recognize how much weight you have. Rashad McCarts was very angry when he saw the trees not passing the ball, and he fiercely advised them around the trees. Lin Leanley didn't even bother with Rashad McCarts, he dribbled the ball forward on his own. Coach Randy Whitman on the sidelines was surprised by the actions of the trees. The attacks of the previous few balls by Lin were not ordinary ball-holding attacks, but rather a bit like the playing style of a center forward. Therefore, head coach Randy Whitman believed that Wood did not have the ability to hold the ball and attack. But now the actions of the trees have surprised him, even to the point of surprise. If Lin demonstrates good ball control and breakthrough skills, then Lin's ranking within the team will slowly rise and he will directly reach the top. On the court, Wood dribbled outside the 3-point line, and Al Jefferson was also forced to defend to the outside line. This is his most uncomfortable defensive area as an insider. However, the trees are also on the inside, and Al Jefferson is not hesitant. Lin Mu dribbled at high speed, constantly shaking Al Jefferson's center of gravity. Al Jefferson's footsteps have been disrupted by the dribbling skills of the trees. Bang bang. Upon seeing this, the trees took a step past Al Jefferson and broke through towards the inner line. Upon seeing this, Theo Ratliff immediately took big steps to intercept the trees and stop them from accelerating. Power forward Al Jefferson was left behind by the trees, while center Theo Ratliff defended in front of the trees. At this moment, the interior was empty, and only Ryan Gomez was there. The tree saw the situation and hit the ground, passing the basketball from Theo Ratliff's crotch to Ryan Gomez's hand. After receiving the ball, the latter easily hits the board and scores the ball. The score is 8.2. On the sidelines. Good ball control ability and good passing vision. Not only that, when facing offensive choices, being able to make the right choices. It's good material for a team leader. Coach Randy Whitman nodded in satisfaction at this scene, and the more he looked at the trees, the more he liked them. The report on the players in hand and the page on the trees are all filled. Above are not only advantages but also advantages. Chapter 9. Unsettled shooting, shocking the head coach. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nice pass. Good ball. When Ryan Gomez retreated, he ran past the trees and the two clapped hands in tacit agreement. Rashad McCart's mood at this moment was not much different from that of Al Jefferson. The two people selected by head coach Randy Whitman were supposed to be the focus of this training match. But he was snatched the limelight by this unscrupulous yellow-skinned kid. Rashad McCarts was very unwilling in his heart, turning his head to look at the scoreboard. His team's score had already been 1.3 obtained by the trees. There's still a chance. Rashad McCart's eyes lit up and he walked up to point guard Sebastian Telfeld, whispering. Seba, give me the ball later. Remember, don't pass the ball to the trees. Do you understand, Seba? Rashad McCart's words carried a hint of threat. Although Sebastian Terfel entered the league 1 year earlier than Rashad McCarts has been with the Timberwolves for 2 years, and Sebastian Terfel was only traded this year. Strictly speaking, Sebastian Telfel is considered a newcomer to the Timberwolves. That's why Rashad McCarts spoke to Sebastian Telfield in such a tone. Sebastian Telfel's eyes flickered as he listened, unsure of what was on his mind. Transfer of ball rights, red team ball rights. After receiving the ball, Randy Foye quickly advanced through the half. At this moment, Al Jefferson still couldn't bear the anger in his heart and wanted to continue farming and regain face. But Randy Fryer turned a blind eye to Al Jefferson's demands and dribbled on his own. Sebastian Telfel opened his arms, lowered his center of gravity, and defended in front of Randy Foye. Randy Foye used a feint to forcefully break through Sebastian Telfield, then passed over and made a quick stop jump shot on the side of the penalty line. Al Jefferson was about to curse at Randy Foye when the insulting words instantly blocked his throat. Brush. Basketball precise entry into the net. The score is 8.4. Transfer of ball rights, blue team ball rights. After receiving the ball, Sebastian Telfel quickly advanced and stopped outside the 3-point line. At this moment, both Wood and Rashad McCarts reached out for the ball at the same time. On one side are the team captain, and on the other side are personnel who may become the team leader in the future. Sebastian Telfield is in a dilemma. The tree saw Sebastian Telfel's difficulties and withdrew his hand, without continuing to persist. The latter saw the situation and smiled apologetically at the trees, passing the ball to Rashad McCarts. After receiving the ball, Rashad McCarts showed a joyful smile of victory towards the trees. Marco Yaliki took advantage of Rashad McCarts' carelessness and leaned forward to reach out for the ball. Rashad McCarts was shocked, and in a fit of urgency, he used his body to protect the ball. Bang bang. Next, we started dribbling and breaking through. Faced with Marko Yalik's defense, Rashad McCarts dribbled quickly and broke free from defense after 2 consecutive forward turns. At this moment, there was no one in front of Rashad McCarts. There was a large open space, but he did not choose to make a quick stop and shoot, but instead rushed towards the inside line. Al Jefferson saw Rashad McCarts rushing towards him and immediately defended himself. Rashad McCarts jumped up, followed closely by Al Jefferson. Pop. Follow the sound to look. Al Jefferson's big hand fanned the basketball directly onto the rebound and bounced it back. The tree aimed at the rebounding basketball, unleashing an astonishing force in its hind limbs, soaring up. With its right hand stretched out, it grabbed the basketball in the air, then slightly rotated its wrist to aim at the basket and threw it over. After landing, Lin remained calm and turned to defend without looking back to see if the basketball had entered the net. Because he knows this ball, he will definitely score. Next second. When. Brush. The basketball accurately hits the rebound behind the basket and then bounces into the basket. Unset shooting. The score is 10.4. If there were spectators from the Timberwolves on the sidelines of this training match, they would have already started screaming and cheering. Unfortunately, there is no if. Most of the players on the field didn't carefully observe the entire process of Lin's shooting, thinking that Lin was just making up a basket and didn't pay much attention. However, Coach Randy Whitman, who observes players on the sidelines, is different. He witnessed the entire process of the forest trees changing their shooting movements after receiving the ball. My heart stirred up a storm. Coincidence? Or is it a coincidence? How could it be so precise to throw it into that position? Although it does not violate the laws of physics, the difficulty is still very high. Coach Randy Whitman couldn't help but think to himself when he saw the calm expression on Forrest's face after scoring the goal. Is this the specialty skill of trees? At this thought, head coach Randy Whitman shook his head and dispelled the idea. No way, luck, it must be luck. Chapter 10. Showdown, I'm here to be the boss. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Transfer of ball rights, red team ball rights. Randy Foyer looked at the trees that had already fallen into place in the front field, and then glanced at Al Jefferson beside him, gritting his teeth, with a playful expression on his face. Because he remembered that head coach Randy Whitman organized this game not to see which team could win, but to observe the performance of each player. And his competitor is the opponent's point guard Sebastian Telfel, not the trees. He just needs to do his job well and then do it better than Sebastian Telfield. After receiving the baseline ball, quickly advance through the half and organize the team's attack at the top of the arc 3-point line position. Although there is no head coach to arrange tactics, Marko Yalik and Corey Bloor are still aware of the simple running of the baseline. 2 people cross and run, making a pick and roll move for each other. After Corey Bloor shook off Rashad McCarts and ran into an empty space, Randy Flyer passed the basketball directly over. After receiving the ball, Corey Bloor stood up without any hesitation and made a shooting position. Rashad McCarts was shocked and flew forward. When it reached its highest point, Corey Bloor pressed down on his wrist and threw the ball. At this point it was already too late for Rashad McCarts' flying pounce. The basketball curved in the air and hit the basket with a double thud, stumbling and falling into the net. The score is 10.6. After seeing this scene, Coach Randy Whitman on the sideline silently drew a cross after the name Rashad McCarts. Transfer of ball rights, blue team ball rights. The trees stood at the bottom line demanding the ball, and Sebastian Telfel ran away upon seeing it. On the side, Rashad McCarts couldn't stand the trees and stood at the baseline, reaching out for the ball. Ryan Gomez, who served off the line, did not hesitate and passed the ball directly to the trees. This move also angered Rashad McCarts, who gritted his teeth and clenched his fists with a clattering sound. "Wood, what exactly do you want to do?" At this moment, Coach Randy Whitman on the sidelines was puzzled. On the field, the tree dribbled faster and advanced quickly, encountering Randy Foyer from the opposite defense outside the 3-point line. The basketball runs at high speed, shuttling back and forth between the two big hands of the trees. The speed is so fast that it seems like there are remnants. Ultra-fast dribbling. Suddenly, the entire stadium was stunned. So fast. How could it be so fast? Is this the dribbling rhythm that power forwards should have? Why are there still some habitual movements of streetball? Did the trees play on the street court when the Celtics had nowhere to play? Coach Randy Whitman on the sidelines rubbed his eyes, unable to believe what he saw. In fact, this action was used twice by the tree. The first time, because the defender was Al Jefferson, his footsteps were very slow, and he managed to get rid of the trees after transporting them twice. But this time it's different. Randy Foy is a defender who generally has a fast pace and can keep up with the dribbling rhythm of the vast majority of players, so the forest tree shows even more skill in dribbling at super high speeds. The other players on the red team saw the action of the trees and speculated that his next move was to break through and hit the basket. In order to deal with this possibility, the players approached the trees faintly. The next moment. Bang bang. The trees sway their bodies, creating a false illusion of breakthrough. Dong. Randy Fay was knocked down by the trees. WTF. A guard was knocked down by a power forward. Coach Randy Whitman, who had just regained his composure, was stunned by this scene. Defenders have fast footsteps, fast speed, and low center of gravity. It can be said that it is impossible for a power forward with slow footsteps and high center of gravity to fall to the ground head-on. And this scene happened before my eyes. Immediately after, the trees passed by Randy Foyer and headed towards the inner line. 4 players rushed forward in unison. Upon seeing the situation, the forest tree did not make too much movement and jumped backwards, making a shooting position in the air, ready to take off. Upon seeing this, Al Jefferson and others immediately jumped and headed towards the basketball cover in the hands of the trees. For a moment, 4 big hands appeared in front of the trees. Al Jefferson's big hand even intercepted the path that the basketball was about to travel. Seeing the trees in the air, he changed his shooting position temporarily, aimed at the basket, and threw the ball from the gap between his big hands. Unset shooting. Are you throwing it casually again? Is this really the Forest's specialty shooting skill? Coach Randy Whitman was once again surprised, his gaze fixed on basketball. The basketball flew straight out, passed between the big hands, and headed towards the rebound. When brush. Basketball is played on the rebound behind the basket, accurately bouncing into the net. The score is 12.6. What kind of ghost is this? What strange shooting posture? Can we all get in here? Lucky 2. After landing, the 4 of them were shocked to see the basketball net still shaking after it entered the net. Even Lin's teammates were wide-eyed, unable to believe the goal they had just seen. After the trees fell to the ground, they stood calmly in place with a confident smile on their lips. Showdown, I'm here to be the boss.